Good morning, guys. We've driven about 4 hours north of Zion National Park. We're here in Salt Lake City, Utah. We're going to make our way up into the Wasatch Mountain Range to check out what is supposedly Utah's most dangerous ridgeline. And we're going to explore that ridgeline, hopefully all the way to the summit of the so-called Devil's Castle. Looks pretty cool in the pictures. Let's go check it out. Definitely don't want to forget the bug spray on this one. These high alpine forests tend to be a breeding ground for mosquitoes in the summertime. I got the coordinates for the secret lake trailhead on the internet, and I know we need to follow this thing up to an alpine lake that's kind of at the base of the ridge. Much beyond that, I'm not too sure what we're going to be facing. I like to go into these things relatively blind most of the time, and this time is no different. I believe we're going to climb up to this initial ridge line and then cross all the way over there. We made it to Secret Lake. I believe this is where most of the other hikers were headed. From here, we're going to depart the trail and head up that thing. The official Secret Lake trailhead ends here, but to the left of the lake, there's this little social trail that, at least for the moment, skirts the lake in the direction that we're headed. Even if you're not interested in the ridgeline, I think hiking the Secret Lake could be worth your time. Just bear in mind there's no swimming allowed here, as it does serve as an important water source. We're just here at the base of the mountain, and our first task is to get around this little band protecting the ridge. Don't really want to go to the right, that kind of takes us out of the way, so hoping the trail is going to loop around this way, although at this point the trail may be disappearing soon. I believe so. We still have a definite trail to follow here, which is much appreciated, and fortunately it is taking us to the left of that band, which is exactly what we want. I'm thinking we can just continue up this way, make the ridgeline right there. This is the highest you've ever been.
It has, and it's only been a short amount of time.
Haven't even made the ridgeline yet, but we're already over 10,000 feet. Stephanie's really feeling the effects of the elevation. Let's say it's very important to pay attention to how you're feeling before you get to anything scrambly or difficult. You don't want to be up high climbing and dealing with elevation troubles. It can really be dangerous. Getting a bit closer to our ridgeline. Well, guys, we made the initial ridgeline, and I would say even if we weren't trying to climb Devil's Castle, this would still absolutely be worth it. Views up here are gorgeous, and it was an adventure even just getting to this point. We're going to take a quick rest here, enjoy the views, make sure the elevation isn't affecting Stephanie too much, and then we'll start hiking / climbing our way across this thing, hopefully to the summit of Devil's Castle. Neither of us know the details of this traverse, so we might have to turn back early for safety, but we're going to give it our best shot. Here's the view of Secret Lake where we came from. There's the weird part somewhere in there. I'd say in terms of physical effort, we've probably done the hardest part. In terms of, I guess, technical challenge and mental challenge, well, I would say the hardest is still to come. Even on the back side of the ridgeline, it's just mountains in every direction. Got armrests and footstool.
Too short.
Alright guys, time to give this thing a shot. Looks like someone built a little shelter here. Alright, we're really getting on the ridgeline proper now. Watch your step on the left. There's another pretty alpine lake on the backside of this ridgeline. Definitely have to watch where you're stepping, but so far there hasn't really been any climbing required. Just kind of a fun little maze through the trees and some of the prettiest, I guess, dead wood that I've seen in a while, like dead branches. Almost looks like something that was crafted or sculpted by an artist, kind of thing you might hang on your wall. But now the ridgeline is starting to ease us into a little bit of not really climbing, but I guess scrambling. And I would say it's important here to try to maintain 3 points of contact when possible, so that if a hold were to break, you would still have something to kind of secure yourself to the wall. So for example, if you had both hands and one foot in contact with secure holds, that would be 3 points of contact. But if, for example, you were just dangling by both of your hands, that would be 2 points of contact. And maybe it seems like a bit of a silly distinction, but I think it's actually pretty important because if you think about it, each time you make a move, you're removing 1 point of contact. So if you only have 2 points of contact to begin with, you go to make a move, there's going to be at least a split second where you only have one solid contact with the wall. And that's not ideal even in the best of circumstances, but in the worst of circumstances where a hold breaks, which of course happens. I mean, this is sometimes a brittle rock. If that one hold breaks and you only had, say, 2 holds to begin with, you could be in serious trouble. Now, that being said, on this initial little scramble here, you would probably be able to stop yourself if you were to break a hold or slip. But I have a feeling that's going to change soon, and it's important to reinforce those habits at all times, or at least in my opinion, it is important to.
I think around this way, but let me scout it out.
Here we're working our way across, but also partly up the ridgeline, trying to regain the ridgeline proper and kind of identify like a little protected slot up ahead. It's protected by trees on the backside, so we're trying to get to that slot, and we'll just keep making our way up across from there and see what we can do to get back up on top of the thing. Well, really it's a series of slots, but anyway, here's the second major one. It's got a nice tree branch root protection on the backside. It's almost like the trees are kind of holding you close to the mountain. Here I'm using my hands to test the holds, make sure they're secure, and it brings up an interesting point. I think of more serious, more difficult rock climbing where you're on a rope. People say to climb with your feet, to try to take a lot of the weight with your feet, and that makes sense, but I would say when you're out here scrambling on unknown rock with no rope protection, it's actually more of a hands thing because you have to really feel the rock and test it constantly. And there's no rope to catch or fall out here.
I really like the orange lichen I keep seeing around here because it's a really pretty contrast to the black rock. Not sure what kind of rock it is, but it's not crumbling too easily for me.
Here we found a series of rock ledges that should allow us to cross over to that gravelly runoff. If we can get to that gravelly runoff in a safe way and scale it without sliding down the mountain, we should be able to gain the ridgeline again. I wouldn't necessarily recommend jumping across a gap like this, unless you're absolutely certain, I mean.
Yeah, don't jump if you're not careful.
I know.
Not comfortable. Keep moving those feet. Yeah. There you go. I think we'll try to head up this way. Well, that actually looks kind of doable. Let's try this way, Stephanie. Do it one at a time, not knock any rocks on each other. I'm gonna head up it first and make sure it's safe.
Here we've come to our first section of true vertical climbing. That's really not so bad. The holds feel very solid. Overall it feels safe, minus the 1,000-foot drop off to my left.
All right, Steph, come on up. If you're not confident in your handhold, pick a new one. Perfect. Keep climbing those feet. Yeah. Nice. take a peek around this obstacle and see what lies ahead. Careful right here. Maybe. I just climbed up to a little high point here, and at first I was thinking we have to go across that, but I actually think we can just kind of walk along the backside of this ridge and through that notch. We're gonna give that a shot. Yeah, I think it'll be easiest to get down there if we backtrack a little, Steph. Otherwise we'll have to down climb that.
So at this point we've identified what we think is the true Devil's Castle summit up ahead, but rather than approach it straight on along the top of the ridgeline, we've made the potentially questionable decision to descend off the side of the ridgeline. In this case, the decision is supported by the fact that we just saw a trail cut into the side of the ridge essentially, so we know people come down this way, but it's very loose, and so instead of climbing around solid rock, we're basically going to be slipping and sliding our way down this thing. This is definitely a bit sketchy.
There you go.
This is the exact sort of situation we want to avoid. So we have an off-camber gravel slope that's leading to a runoff that, as far as I can tell, just goes off the side of the mountain. So I'm going to try to climb back up onto some solid rock here.
Hold it up, hold it up. We have a seat here for a second.
Don't like what I see ahead, so I'm going to descend farther down the ridge and try to find an alternate path.
Alright guys, so I just climbed down and looked around the corner. There's this kind of off camber with a bunch of gravel, which I'm not a fan of, but we're just going to crawl through this bush and try to make our way around because, well, I'll show you guys in a second, but where we were, it was going to get a little sketchy in terms of this loose gravel. The loose gravel on an off camber along a ridgeline is really not great because if your feet give out, then, well, you're kind of in trouble. So anyway, I'm gonna climb back up here to Stephanie, grab my phone, and we're gonna down climb this and try to take that way through. The issue with this way we were going, that's the alternative way by the way, but the issue with this way we were going, around this corner, you start to have to walk along this little off camber section. It's composed of loose gravel, and it's off camber like this, I mean, on loose gravel, a bit sketchy. We're going to try to go down and around and then regain the ridgeline through that little notch. To do that, we're going to climb down this little notch here, and then we're going to get on our chest and crawl through a bush. There you go. Okay, trade spots with me here. Okay. Now, Steph, do you see? Yeah. So, this is too sketch. I've already tested it. The gravel is really loose. If we just get on all fours and crawl in this little cave through this bush, I think we'll be okay. See, Steph, even these rocks getting to it are loose, so be really careful. See, all this really sucks. Actually, Steph, my brilliant plan may not have been so brilliant. There's really nowhere to go. Hold up for just a second, I'm gonna explore. That's a no-no because it's just the cliff. Down through that notch, looks like it just falls off. Maybe we could go down and around here. So let's see where this goes. Yeah, that looks really loose, and right where it gets loose, there's a big drop off. It's just me alone. I'd probably go down that, but I'm not sure. I love the thought of Stephanie doing this. She's not got quite as long arms and legs as I do. I mean, she could probably do that. Just worried some of this could break off. And let's see what's around the corner if she were to do that. Well, it's kind of just more gravel ridgeline, which I don't love. I'd really rather get down over there, but I'm not sure we'd be able to from that. Let's check this other way. Hang tight, Steph. Well, now could we just... Nah. So really the only option maybe is to go this way. Let's check that out. I'm not liking what I'm seeing. That's a loose hold. Well, I know she'd have no problem climbing up this, but climbing down it looks a little sketchy. I'm not even sure it would lead us to a good spot. Let's see. Yeah, guys, I don't know about this. If we could get down there, I feel pretty confident we'd make a safe attempt at that notch, but getting down there is the problem.
But as my hope for this line diminishes, I think I'm spotting another one. Maybe one last try to descend even farther down the ridge, get to a safe-ish location, and then cross over to climb back up to the notch.
Alright guys, we got one last try here. We're going to try to walk along this to that little cave, down this gully, and around, get to this little clearing, and then head up the notch. Not sure if coming down this gully is going to be good, but we'll see.
Well guys, this video is already pretty long, and I'll just say things are only going to get sketchier, so I'm going to cut it off here. Thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for next week's video to see how this all ends.
Just make sure you test your holds before you use them.